Hello everyone, this is Energetic Ruth. Today I'm going to go through Anne Frank House VR. I'm excited to go through this. I listened to the entire audiobook. It was 9 hours of listening, but I'm excited to get in the house. Let's start. Story mode.
On the 12th of June, 1929, Anne Frank is born in Frankfurt, Germany. She is the second child of Jewish parents, Otto and Edith Frank. Her older sister is called Margot. In 1933, when Anne is 3 years old, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rise to power in Germany. The Nazis, building on existing anti-Jewish sentiments, blame the Jews for many of Germany's problems, and Hitler's government soon passes laws that turn Jews into second-class citizens.
They were put under lots of restrictions. Yeah.
As a result, many German Jews decide to leave Germany and seek refuge elsewhere. The Frank family moves to Amsterdam, the Dutch capital, where Otto Frank establishes his own business. The family settles in, leading a normal life for a number of years. But then, in May 1940, shortly after the start of the Second World War, Nazi Germany invades the Netherlands. It installs an oppressive regime and starts isolating the Jewish population. In 1941, the situation worsens as the Nazis start to carry out raids, arresting Jewish men and transporting them to concentration camps in Nazi Germany. In July of 1942, when Margot receives a call-up notice to go and work in Nazi Germany, Otto and Edith Frank decide to take action. Having already prepared a hiding place in an empty part of Otto Frank's company building, they hurriedly move their family into this secret annex and go into hiding. Here, the Frank family is soon joined by 4 other Jewish people: Otto's co-worker Hermann von Pels, his wife August, and their son Peter, and one of Otto's friends, Fritz Pfeffer. It is this group of 8 people that will live together in the small annex for more than 2 years, sharing the burden of living in hiding with the constant fear of being discovered. All this time, they are cared for by 6 helpers, trusted employees of Otto Frank, who supply them with food and other necessities. During this period, Anne, then a young teenager, keeps a diary, writing about her feelings and experiences in the annex, about the events taking place in their secret hiding place, its entrance hidden behind a revolving bookcase.
Please stand here. Wow, I get feet.
Countless friends and acquaintances are on their way to a horrible destination. Night after night, the green or gray military vehicles drive by, ring every bell to ask if Jews live there. If so, the whole family has to go along right away. If not, they move on. No one can escape their fate unless they go into hiding.
Alright, let's open it. Oh wow.
Our hiding place has now become a true hiding place. Mr. Kugler, you see, thought it would be better to place a cupboard in front of our door. But then, of course, a cupboard on hinges that can open like a door. Now, when we want to go downstairs, we have to duck first, then jump. After 3 days, we were all walking around with bumps on our foreheads, because everyone kept banging their heads against the low doorway.
I remember that.
Peter then made the door frame as soft as possible by nailing to it a cloth full of wood shavings. We'll see if it helps.
Oh, it's really tight. What's this? Oh.
Straight across from the door, a steep set of stairs. To the left, a little hallway and a room, which is to be the Frank family's living room and bedroom. Of course, we are never allowed to look out the window or go outside.
It's quite small.
During the day, we always have to walk quietly and speak softly. The people in the warehouse mustn't hear us.
Letters.
It weighs on me more heavily than I can say that we can never go out, and I'm terribly afraid that we will be caught and executed. That, of course, is not a very pleasant prospect.
It's pretty cool that it's all this is straight from the book. I remember these.
We always look forward to those Saturdays, because that's when the books arrive. Normal people don't know how much books mean to someone who is locked up. Reading, studying, and the radio are our only distractions.
Huh.
It's terrible being sick in here. Whenever I had to cough, I would crawl down deeper under the blankets and try to quieten my throat as gently as possible. But enough about being sick now. I'm feeling dandy again. I've grown 1/2 inch, put on 2 pounds, pale and eager to learn.
Wow. So is that the warehouse or the people upstairs that we hear? That's a lot of books.
Our little room, with its stern walls, was very bare until now, thanks to Father, who had brought my whole collection of picture postcards and movie stars here beforehand. I have been able to treat the walls with a pot of glue and a brush, and so turn the entire room into one big picture.
Oh, is this it? Here it is.
Writing lets me get rid of it all. My sorrow disappears, my courage is revived. But, and that's the main question, will I ever be able to write something great? Will I ever be a journalist and a writer? I hope, oh, I do so hope I will, because writing lets me register everything, my thoughts, my ideals, and my fantasies.
I remember her saying in her diary that paper is patient.
As of yesterday, I have found something new. For instance, using a good pair of binoculars to spy on the lighted rooms of the people who live behind us. During the day, we are not allowed to open the curtains even an inch, but when it's so dark, there can be no harm in it.
She learned a lot of things about her neighbors. Specific paper?
My hopes are fixed on the time that will come after the war. I would love to go to Paris for a year and London for a year to learn the language and study art history. I feel bad for lying in a warm bed, while my dearest friends are out there somewhere, thrown or fallen to the ground. I even become afraid myself when I think about all those to whom I have always felt so close, and who are now in the hands of the cruelest brutes who ever existed. And that only because they are Jews.
I remember hearing that they heard planes a lot, but I didn't realize that the house would shake from it. These are quite small beds, quite narrow.
Margot and Mother are on pins and needles. Shh, Father. Quiet, Otto. Shh. It's 8:30. Come here now. You can't run the water anymore. Walk quietly. These are the various cries that go out to Father in the bathroom. At the stroke of 8:30, he must be in the room. Not a drop of water, no walking, everything quiet. When there's no one in the office downstairs, everything sounds so much louder in the storeroom.
Yeah, only a certain time can they pour water down this drain.
I have changed, and very thoroughly too. Totally and in every way.
Zipper.
My opinions, outlook, judgment, appearance, inner life, everything has changed, and I am pleased to say, because it's true, for the better.
When you pick up things, you don't even need to push a button. All you have to do is reach out and it goes straight into your hand. Quite narrow doors. These are definitely only one-person doors. Oh wow.
If one climbs the stairs and opens the door at the top, one is amazed to find such a large, light and spacious room in such an old canal house.
I hope so.
The kitchen, in other words, and also the bedroom of Mr. and Mrs. Van Pels, the common living room, dining room and study. That difference, that huge difference, is always there. One day we're laughing about the ridiculous side of being in hiding, but the next day, and for many days after that, we are afraid. You can see the fear, tension, and despair on our faces.
So I was wondering, with this experience, if it would actually show a picture of, well, show people in the experience, like maybe you would see people sitting down, like reading a book or something, but it doesn't look like it. Especially with the people in hiding, I hope no one was extremely tall.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is a special bulletin.
This is the day, the English radio said at 12 o'clock. And rightly so, this is the day. The invasion has begun. The Annex in an uproar. Could it really be that the long-awaited liberation is on its way? The liberation about which we've talked so much, but that is still too lovely, too fabulous to ever come true. Could this year, this 1944, grant us victory?
Okay.
We don't know yet either, but the hope that springs eternal makes us brave, gives us renewed strength.
I was wondering if it would tell the date. You know what? It would be nice. Every time you see the text go by, you'll see the date of when. She wrote that because she does date everything she writes.
During the 21 months we've been here, we have gone through quite a number of food periods. By food periods, I mean periods during which one gets nothing else to eat but a certain dish or certain vegetables. It is not nice at all to have to eat sauerkraut, for example, every day at lunch and at dinner again. But when you're hungry, there are lots of things you put up with.
And then it disappears out of your hand. Which door's this? Not sure.
When you knock on his door early in the evening and hear someone quietly call out, "Yes, yes," then you can be sure that when you open the door, you will find him peeking out at you from between 2 steps of the stairs to the loft, and that he will usually continue with a rather welcoming "So." His little room is, well, what is it really? I think a sort of landing on the way to the loft.
Yeah.
Very small, very dark and very humid. But he has made it into a real bedroom.
Is this really a door or just... That's quite a small door. He's also got pictures. Lots of books.
Whenever I went upstairs to Peter's room by daylight, I always found the atmosphere very cheerful. I watched for an opportunity to remain in the room unnoticed and to get him talking, and yesterday that opportunity arose. Peter, by the way, has suddenly developed a mania for crossword puzzles and does nothing else these days. I helped him with it, and soon we were sitting across from each other at his table. He in the chair, me on the divan.
He was on the chair? That's really tight. If you look at the tires, it still has the leather on it. Bet he hasn't used it in a long time. Because I remember from Carrie Ten Boom, the leather was taken away, so they had cloth wrapped around it.
Do you really think that father and mother would approve of me sitting on a divan with a boy, kissing? A boy of 17 and a half and a girl of almost 15? I don't really think so. But I have to rely on myself in this case. It's so peaceful and safe to lie in his arms and to dream. It is so exciting to feel his cheek against mine. It's so lovely to know that someone is waiting for me.
That's gotta be tough for him. Reaching adulthood in a time like that.
I've reached the point where it doesn't matter much anymore whether I die or whether I live on. The world will go on spinning without me, and I can't do anything to change events anyway. I let it come and do nothing but study, and hope that things will turn out well.
Oh, I bet this room shook a lot. Is that potatoes? Oh, there's the jars. I remember telling a story that one day they made a lot of jams, and that's pretty much all that they ate. Too bad I just can't pick up an item. Peeled potatoes?
I go up to the loft almost every morning to let the stuffy indoor air blow out of my lungs. This morning, when I went to the loft again, Peter was there cleaning up. He was done quickly, and while I was sitting at my favorite spot on the floor, he came over too. The two of us looked at the beautiful blue of the sky, at the bare chestnut tree with little drops glistening on its branches, at the seagulls and other birds that seemed made of silver in the sunlight, and all of that moved and touched both of us, so that we could no longer speak.
I remember her saying, I think it was like in the first few months or a year, in her diary, she said she noticed she was becoming nearsighted, and like every time they get the opportunity to look outside, it's always wonderful.
That is the difficult thing these days. Ideals, dreams, lovely expectations barely rise up before being struck down by the most horrible of realities, and so destroyed completely. I see how the world is gradually being transformed into a wasteland. More and more loudly, I hear the incoming thunder that will kill us too. I feel the suffering of millions of people, and still, when I look at the sky, I think that all this will finally turn out for the good. That this hardness too will stop. That calm and peace will return to the world order. In the meantime, I must keep my ideals high and dry. In the days that are coming, I may actually be able to carry them out.
On the morning of the 4th of August, 1944, the hope Anne is holding on to is suddenly all lost. The hiding
It was
place
so
is
sudden.
discovered, and police barge into the Annex, arresting everyone. The group is transferred to Auschwitz, and men and women are separated upon arrival. After 2 months, Anne and her sister Margot are transferred to Bergen-Belsen. The living circumstances in the camp are horrific. And in February 1945, Anne and Margot both die from illness and exhaustion, 2 months before the camp is liberated.
That hurts.
Of the entire group, only Otto Frank survives the camps. When he returns to the Netherlands, he finds the Annex completely ransacked. Most of Anne's writings, however, had been safeguarded after the raid by one of the helpers, Miep Gies. When it becomes clear that Anne has died, they are handed over to Otto. Upon discovering Anne wanted to publish a book about her experiences, he decides to fulfill her wish. In 1952, Diary of a Young Girl is published in English. It will become one of the most read books in the world, translated into more than 70 languages.
Alright, I'm gonna go through tour mode. I bet they always felt relieved leaving the hiding place to maybe stretch to just leave the Annex, but every time they do, I bet they felt really frightened, especially when they went to investigate the break-ins. Talk about living in quarantine. very tight. They're living in fear of being found out. But even in that, like she said before, that she was very blessed to be in this situation, even though it was quite tight. She lived with some strangers, did have her family, which was great. Not everyone had their family. Like they said at the end, they were men and women were separated. Hey, I don't remember that one. But like she said in her diary, should they really feel glad to be here? Shouldn't they feel sad because of the people who couldn't live like they were? Her mom would say, oh, there we go. Okay, it does. Just think of all the people who are not living a life they are. She didn't quite agree with her mother. She had a really tough time with her mom. She wished for a relationship with her mom, but she struggled to. Before this quarantine, before they had to go in hiding, she was quite popular in school. In her diary later on, she said in a way that kind of filled in the gap of not having a relationship with her mom.
Writing lets me get rid of it all. My sorrow disappears, my courage is revived. But, and that's the main question, will I ever be able to write something great? Will I ever be a journalist and a writer? I hope, oh, I do so hope I will, because writing lets me register everything, my thoughts, my ideals, and my fantasies.
And this was their spacious room. What game is this? Definitely not in English. Oh, that's a big pot. Now that's cooking for a big family. That's a big pot. Is this oranges? The hands don't grip. Peeled potato. Is that an onion? Remember she said there was a lot of smoking. I wonder if people in the warehouse ever actually heard and ignored, or even smelt the smoke of this smoking they did. The men did. Do I have to grab? Yep, this time I
During
actually
the
have to grab.
21 months we've been here, we have gone through quite a number of food periods. By food periods, I mean periods during which one gets nothing else to eat but a certain dish or certain vegetables. It is not nice at all to have to eat sauerkraut, for example, every day at lunch and at dinner again.
I can't help but notice, but every time moving around, you can pull the trigger, or even the grip button, or any button, really. They were in this quarantine for so long. The constant shushing, all the noises they make, especially like she said at 8:30. At that time, you try to be as quiet as possible. That's gotta be hard. I hope you enjoyed. This was Anne Frank in VR, and this has definitely helped me to understand of what I heard in the book, and to be able to point some things out and say, I remember when the book mentioned something like this. And like I said before, it was pretty neat of having quotes from her actual diary explaining some things. But it would be nice to have the date of when she wrote that, so you can see the time. But yeah, so if you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell to get the notification. So, as always, see you later. Oh, wow. Oh, this is neat. What? So there's the... Oh, wait a minute. Is that how I get in? Oh. Okay, so you can click on it and you'll appear in the room. Alright. This is pretty cool. Alright, so that was interesting to know. And now you guys know it too.